What's going on, fantasy football fans? My name's Hussein the Brain, and you're watching The Couch. These are my waiver wire pickups for week 8 of fantasy football. For the best waiver wire pickups, best live streams, and best fantasy football advice, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit that bell icon so you won't miss anything. There are 4 teams on bye this week. Those 4 teams are the Cardinals, Texans, Jaguars, and the Washington football team. Don't start any players on these 4 teams. Let's take a quick look at the weather coming up for this week. The weather has pretty much been an absolute non-factor. Some people got scared of the snow last week. I told them don't get scared of the snow. Harrison Butker will be fine, and he was. But this week and moving forward, the weather is going to matter. Probably wherever you're living right now in the US, you notice yourself the weather is a changing, and the number one thing we like to look at is wind. So 2 games that will have an impact will be the Packers game where the winds are 20 miles an hour. That's very strong. We're looking for winds that are 15 miles an hour or stronger. And the game that's going to really be affected is this Browns game. So it's Raiders at the Cleveland Browns. There's a small chance of light rain and also 22 miles an hour. So what does that mean? Okay, that means we're going to see more run plays. That means we're going to see less deep throws down the field. And we all know Derek Carr doesn't like throwing the ball deep. That's why they got Henry Ruggs. So they plan to change that a bit. Still, when the winds are this strong and you throw the ball over 40 yards, 40 air yards, it's not going to land exactly where you want it. And wind is usually not a linear, straight, continuous stream of wind. Sometimes it blows hard, sometimes it's swirly, sometimes it blows in different directions and switches. And so it's very hard to throw the ball deep. You'll still see short throws. Now, these are just weather reports right now on Tuesday. They can change, and it's not like, oh, don't start, a certain player or whatever. But let's say you do have Henry Ruggs and you were thinking of starting him. You might want to downgrade him just a little bit because he really just is good with just that one pass, right? Just that one catch he might get in that game. And that one catch is going to have a less percentage chance of happening because of these strong winds. So a guy like Henry Ruggs does get a downgrade. A guy like Waller is still good, maybe gets an upgrade because he's, getting those 5-yard and 10-yard passes, and that's pretty good. A guy like Kareem Hunt obviously gets a boost. Josh Jacobs gets a boost. It's just something to monitor. And also this Bills game, there's some light rain, 13 miles an hour wind. If that picks up, monitor that. The Bears game, we all know the swirly winds in Chicago, so just monitor that. Could be a couple missed field goals or something like that. And this Eagles game, this is actually kind of good news overall. Like the Eagles defense could ball out. And it's only 14 mile an hour winds with light rain, but still something to note. And if the winds do pick up that game. Anyway, moving on to quarterback pickups. We have a few really good ones. I would say these top 5 are worth adding. And let's start off, in deep leagues, you got Kirk Cousins, Carr, and Jimmy G. Not going to get into those. Those are really deep leagues and super flex leagues. Big Ben, I have him ranked number 5. He has a terrible matchup against the Ravens, and he just doesn't offer too much upside. That's mainly because his defense, the Steelers' defense, is the best defense in the league, and it just is doing such a good job that Big Ben is never gonna have to throw the ball too many times, and when he's had to, he just hasn't lit it up. And so we're looking at a very, very high-end QB2, maybe borderline QB1, but there's really so many other options that you don't ideally want him. Big Ben is a great backup quarterback if you need a backup quarterback. This week, probably don't want to start him. Tua I have ranked ahead of Big Ben because, hey, why not take a flyer in case he is just as good as Justin Herbert or even better? Well, I mean, as a prospect, I love Tua 10 times more than Herbert, and I was wrong about Herbert, and a lot of people were. Herbert is absolutely balling in real life and in fantasy. Let's see how Tua can do. His first start is not a good matchup, though. Definitely not a QB you're wanting to start this week against the Rams defense, who's been very good, but definitely a nice stash just in case you got yourself another Herbert on your bench. And these top three are great options. Carson Wentz going against the Cowboys. Peep this schedule. So the Cowboys this week, week 8, bye week, week 9. Then the Giants, then the Browns, then the Seahawks. Carson Wentz, ladies and gentlemen, is a top 10 quarterback. It's not looking pretty, but he's getting the job done. Joe Burrow, I was leaving him off this list, and I said, let me just look at how many fantasy owners actually have this guy rostered. And I was like, what? It's about 50%? That's insane. It should be like 80 or 90%, but it's really only 50%. So I got to put, if it's less than 60%, I got to put him on here. Great matchup against the Titans, and then not so much after that. So maybe a QB you want to sell high on if you have him, or a QB that's a great streaming option this week. The only reason I didn't put Wentz ahead of Burrow, there's only one reason, and that's because the Eagles defense will probably beast against the Cowboys, and Wentz won't have to do anything. This Cowboys offense is horrible with Dalton, and now that Dalton is out, I'm sorry, I forget his name, DiNucci, something like that. I think I got it right. Cowboys third string quarterback is expected to start because Dalton took that disgusting, nasty hit. I don't think there's any way they're going to trot out Dalton and clear him for a concussion. So expect the third string quarterback to be starting for the Cowboys. Things go from bad to worse for the Cowboys. And Wentz is not going to need to do anything but hand the ball off, and the Eagles should play defense and get an easy dub here and maintain that first place position in the NFC East. What a crap division that is. And my number one pickup, we got going against the Atlanta Falcons. They give up the most points to quarterbacks in fantasy, and that's Teddy Two Gloves, Teddy Bridgewater of the Carolina Panthers. Ladies and gentlemen, enough said. Let's move on to running backs. It's pretty messy here. Chase Edmonds, if you're in a competitive 12-team league, he's long been gone, but I have him out here because he's not rostered in a lot of leagues. Keep in mind, the Cardinals are on bye for week 8. The rest were very difficult to rank for you guys, but I did my best. J.K. Dobbins had a somewhat slow start. Hasn't been that great, but I just believe in his talent so much more than Mark Ingram's talent. This could be the start of the Dobbins era, and you don't want to miss out on that at all. If he's available, you need to add him just in case that happens. And also Gus Edwards, he is an amazing runner, but I haven't seen him catch a pass since the past 300 days, okay? So this guy doesn't really catch passes. J.K. Dobbins does catch passes. And Mark Ingram's injury, they put this weird label on it. It's like a mid to high ankle, not severe injury, some total BS. And what I'm being told is that it's likely a high ankle injury, and it's looking disgusting. And so, yeah, I don't blame the team for lying or downplaying this injury. But just to let you know, Mark Ingram has been pretty bad this year. He's pretty irrelevant. And now that he likely has a high ankle sprain, he's all but done. I mean, his season's pretty much over as far as fantasy is concerned. I would drop Mark Ingram in just about every league, except if you're maybe in a super deep league, like a 20-team league, maybe a 16-team league with an IR spot, because they're saying he's probably going to suit up. I don't even know if he's going to, maybe that's a lie too. And if he does suit up, he'll probably be an emergency back. Like, it's really not looking good for Mark Ingram. And that's why I got Dobbins ranked so high. We saw another turn right here. Joshua Kelly basically switched roles again with Justin Jackson. Now Joshua Kelly is kind of the man and Justin Jackson is the second running back. Let's see if they switch again. I got JaMycal Hasty. Whenever I talk about Niner running backs, just don't listen to me. I should definitely retire from talking about Niner running backs and just stick to the facts here. Okay, so here's the facts. Tevin Coleman's probably out. He's out, Mostert's out. And Jeff Wilson suffered an injury, so he's out. And so there's only two running backs left, right? That's Hasty and McKinnon. And so, they're worth an ad. And then what's funny is that Niner running backs always do good every game. Like, every game, Niner running backs ball out regardless how bad the game is. That's just how good the blocking is, the scheme is, and the coaching is. And, sometimes you start the wrong one or draft the wrong one, which has been going on for quite a while now since Shanahan has been there and Hyde has left. La'Mical Perine's actually getting about 70% of the snaps, while Frank Gore is getting about 30% of the snaps. It's not looking good for Gore, even though I do have him on this list as a very low ceiling running back. This Seahawks thing is a mess here. Okay, so Chris Carson is out. He's likely out. He's week to week. He's expected to miss week 8 against the Niners. Now, Travis Homer also has an injury. Don't know how severe that is. Rashad Penny is coming back from a knee injury. He is out. And now Carlos Hyde, I think, has tightness in his hamstring. So by default, DJ, and how many running backs did I just list off? That's 3. Carson, Homer, and Hyde. All 3 of those guys could be hurt. And so DJ Dallas could be the starting running back, really the only running back the Seahawks have. Oh, yeah, Penny, too. So, yeah, this could be the 5th running back on the depth chart, DJ Dallas. And he might be the only one that's healthy. And just by default, you might want to start him on a week if you have players on bye, like if you have David Johnson or something like that, James Robinson. And then we got Malcolm Brown, who's still getting some work. He's still a touchdown threat in that Rams offense. Is not too explosive, but that's a good team, and they move the ball. And we got Zach Moss, Wayne Gallman, if Devontae Freeman is out. Now, he did work out on the sidelines. He is injured. Have no clue if he's going to play this game or not. My guess is he's not going to play, but that's purely a guess. I really don't know. And we have Gus Edwards. Boost him up a couple spots if it's non-PPR. But in PPR, he's 100% touchdown dependent. He's going to get you 5, 6, 7 fantasy points, and that's really not good enough. And so he's really got to get you that touchdown to get you 11 or 13 fantasy points. But with Mark Ingram out, he's a good depth running back to add, at least for your bench. And, like I said, Mark Ingram might play. You get the point. But he's probably hurt. Mark Ingram is probably going to be suffering and limited from that injury for over 4 weeks. And we got Frank Gore, low ceiling, and Royce Freeman if Philip Lindsay misses any time, which I do expect him to miss some time. Then for wide receivers, we have some okay pickups here. Cole Beasley's my favorite one. Not the best matchup, but he's pretty much matchup proof at this point, unless the Patriots really wanted to zero in and stop Beasley, which I think the player they want to zero in on would be Stephon Diggs. Would be very difficult to stop all 3 wide receivers if John Brown were playing week 8. The injuries for the Niners continue, and Deebo Samuel is injured. Therefore, Brandon Ayuk going against a terrible Seahawks defense is an automatic start. And there's not too many options at wide receiver this week. Ayuk is a good start. I got, like in this one league, I got Debo, and I got Chris Godwin, and I got Terry McLaurin, who's on bye. I literally have no wide receivers, and so I'd be really happy in that league. That's the NBA Celebrity League. We're going up against guys like Gilbert Arenas. Yeah, I really would like Ayuk in that league if I could get him. Jalen Reagor will be back very, very, very soon. He's definitely worth a flyer. I love him. And Allen Lazard will be back in a few weeks. And one good thing about him is that he is likely IR eligible in your league, so you can pick him up and put him in the IR spot. Use that IR glitch, add another player. We love hoarding players here as a Couch Fam member. And then we got Alshon Jeffrey, who will be back really soon, probably this week. Denzel Mims is back, and he was one of my favorite prospects. By default, the Jets got to throw the ball since they're down every single game. Rashard Higgins, now that Odell Beckham is out for the year. Corey Davis, second best wide receiver on that Titans team. Kendrick Bourne with Debo injured. Curtis Samuel going against the Falcons. Russell Gage could be the third option in that pass game, possibly, for the Falcons. Darnell Mooney. And keep tabs on Allen Robinson. That's sad. One of my favorite players in the game. He's hurt. Hopefully he bounces back really soon and is healthy. Sammy Watkins is still hurt, so monitor that situation. Josh Reynolds got a team high of 8 targets Monday Night Football. Preston Williams, not a good matchup. And then we have Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I think Marquez Valdes-Scantling is going to explode for 1 or 2 games this year. Just keep that in mind. Other than that, he does suck. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But if you need a spot start, maybe a MVS while Allen Lazard is still out. For tight ends, really not too many good ones. But you know what's good? These guys suck, okay? But you know what's good about tight ends this year, if you're struggling for one, is that all tight ends suck, right? Gesicki puts up a couple duds. Jonnu Smith puts up a couple duds. Kittle gets hurt, has a couple mediocre games. Even Kelsey, who's the best tight end, didn't have a great game last week. Darren Waller's been great, but he's got shut down by the Patriots. So really, it's been a down year. Really been a down year for tight ends. And sometimes when tight ends ball out, nobody's even starting them, like the third string tight end on the Browns, or when Mo Alley-Cox had his first breakout game, nobody started him. And so there's room for you to add one of these tight ends and beat out a quote unquote real tight end that someone drafted, in the single digit rounds. And so this is a positive thing. It's because it's become such a crapshoot. It's become such an unpredictable, crazy position and a low scoring position this year for some reason, that having a good tight end is not a huge advantage, because that's just a perceived good tight end. When in fact, the good tight ends are these guys that no one's even starting, like Richard Rodgers. By default, Ertz is out, Goddard is out. Richard Rodgers becomes a tight end 1 all of a sudden. Irv Smith, last couple games, been kind of balling out, double-digit fantasy points. I love him as a stash, and this could be the era where Irv Smith is shifting. It's definitely shifting from Rudolph to Irv Smith, and Irv Smith is getting better. So I think this is a must add, at least as a tight end too, if you only have one tight end. Trey Burton seems to be the number 1 receiving tight end for the Colts. Don't know if Mo Alley-Cox is coming back or not. The Colts just had a bye week, so maybe he is. And then we got Gerald Everett, who gets a huge boost if Tyler Higbee misses any more time. Drew Sample, I love him in garbage time. Eric Ebron, another okay matchup against the Ravens. And then I just wanted to discuss the Seahawks tight end situation. It's very messy when each tight end's being used about the same, but I think we're shifting more towards Will Dissly here. I just have that gut feeling and seeing him, and I think the coaching staff's going to be like, you know what, let's give Will Dissly a little bit more playing time as the season goes along. Definitely don't want to start any Seahawks tight ends, but Will Dissly could be a nice stash in deep leagues. Now keep in mind, we're getting in real deep league territory here. And then Mo Alley-Cox, who's been blowing up, just really can't be trusted right now. And on top of that, he did have an injury. For defenses, keep in mind the Chiefs and Bucks are owned in about 90% of leagues, but I just wanted to have them here just in case they were available. I noticed that a lot of defenses and kickers are really unpredictable when it comes to being rostered. They're not like quarterbacks or anything like that. Like, I'm going to go and Cam Newton's going to be owned in just about every league. Brady, he's owned in just about every league. It's pretty obvious, but for defenses, it's not as obvious. The Chiefs are going to be the highest scoring defense this week, so must roster, must start. Eagles D going against the Cowboys. We already discussed this. Oh boy, that's going to be so nasty. Eagles defense put up 11 points this previous week for my squad in my leagues, and so I expect them to get a lot more than 11 fantasy points this coming week. They're a great streaming option, and I already have them in 2 leagues, so I'm just holding on to them and starting them again. Bucks going up against the Giants, no brainer here. Colts D's just been solid overall, not a good matchup necessarily against the Lions, but you could do much worse. Chargers D right there has a lot more upside than the Colts defense, and I could probably rank them a spot ahead. Just keep tabs on which Broncos are injured. If Lindsey is out, Tim Patrick is out, if it's not looking good, then the Chargers D, probably even a better start than the Colts D. Matter of fact, I think I'm just going to move them right now. Yeah, let's do that. I like that a lot more. Let's do that for sure. Chargers D is just, when you get those type of upside opportunities, let's roll with them. And then we got the Saints D going up against the Bears. Saints D could be one of the sneakiest streamers this week if Allen Robinson is out. Now, the thing with that is the defense can play completely different. Even when they don't use Allen Robinson, the defense has to focus in and notice him because he's their best player, right? And so if he's out, wow, this defense could just zero in, shut down the pass, and their O-line is horrible, the Bears O-line, and they could even be banged up this week. So that Rams game was a bruising game for the Bears. It hurt them mentally, physically, it injured them, and just wasn't a good game for the Bears offense. It was a tough one, and so the Saints could continue the onslaught. Very sneaky streaming option there. And if the wind gets crazier and more extreme, that's going to mean a low scoring game. I forgot to mention that high winds, 16 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour, when we get in that range, that's going to be a lot less scoring because no explosive plays. You really can't throw the ball down the field when winds are 25 miles an hour or stronger, but we're looking at about 15 miles an hour swirly Chicago winds. Then we have the Packers going against the Vikings, Broncos going against the Chargers. And this is super deep league territory here. Titans going against the Bengals, Browns going against the Raiders, really mainly because of the wind and then the weather. And then Dolphins going against the Rams. Sometimes the Rams offense doesn't light up the scoreboard. For kickers, I could have added another about four kickers to this list, maybe even 5, but I figured that a lot of these guys will be available. You'll be able to get one of these guys at least off waivers or free agency. And remember, we don't spend FAB on kickers. We don't put in claims for kickers because we identified those sleeper kickers and have been very successful at it. So don't waste a claim on a kicker. Don't waste any more than $0 FAB on a kicker. There's really no need to spend anything on a kicker because we do a little bit of research and we know which kickers are going to do well. Now, Rodrigo Blankenship is the one that everybody knows about, okay? So he's going to be the one that people are going to claim and put FAB on, and people have actually stashed this guy from last week, even though he was on bye. So it's unlikely you'll get him, but I did want to put him there. Excellent matchup, and he's playing in a dome. Excellent, just a great kicker in general. And then we got Joey Sly, who's just as good as Blankenship this week. Absolutely love Sly. Love him, love him, love him. Now, I got to put Blankenship ahead of Sly because he's slightly better. And also, it's in a dome, a little bit of wind here. It's in Carolina. It's not in a dome. And so, Blankenship definitely beats out Sly in my rankings. But that's my point, is that if you can get Sly for free instead of wasting a claim on Blankenship, definitely do that. And then we got Jason Myers, who has a ton of upside going against the Niners. Now, he doesn't have a great floor this year, anything like that, but I do like him. And then we got Jake Elliott, Eagles versus the Cowboys. And he really could be ahead of Jason Myers. This is a great matchup for Jake Elliott and his solid kicker. Then we have Stephen Gostkowski. Absolutely love him against the Bengals. Gostkowski's a little bit up and down this year, but when he's making them, they're kicking a lot of field goals. Then we have Mason Crosby. Love him this week. Ryan Suckup, excellent kicker. With the wind and the Giants, I might want to rank. Actually, I'm gonna. This is a tough one. This is a real tough one here because the wind might change. Yeah, I love both. Number 6 and 7, because the Bucs just have a great matchup against the Giants. And then we have Younghoe Koo, who's a little bit overrated. People, like saying his name and making jokes, and they love his YouTube videos, and people are just a huge fan of this guy. And he's a good kicker and a good kicker this week, but there are better options. And so he's number 8. He's another guy that people can waste a waiver claim on and probably won't even be an elite kicker this week. Now, he can be. I'm saying it's hard to predict this stuff. Just saying it's not worth, spending everything or making drastic roster changes just to get the kicker you want. It's never worth it. Make sure you guys are subscribed to this YouTube channel. We also have a second YouTube channel, Fantasy Couch Podcast. Had a lot of fun on that last week. Had a couple giveaways too, so don't miss out on that, and subscribe to both these YouTube channels. Smash this with a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thumbs down if you didn't, to give me that honest feedback. Good luck this week, everybody. Let's get that W. Let's make playoffs.